Sandra, how did you find carnivore?
Oh, first of all, Dave, I just want to say thank you. I give glory to God for this opportunity, and I thank God for your life and for what you are doing. And thank you for inviting me today. So I came to carnivore through the fact that my daughter had a stomach issue. And as a baby, she always cried, but, we never thought it was anything that had to do with, any pain. We just thought she was a crying baby. But at 3 years old, we noticed she would always kind of complain. And we brought it up to the doctors before, but it just said just journal, what she's eating, but nothing really. There was no steps taken towards it. But when she turned 8, it got worse, where like she would be cramping down, and she couldn't even going to school in the morning. She had a lot of pain. We didn't know what it was. And then she was taken to the hospital again. And we ended up doing all the food elimination, like nuts, dairy, any type of food elimination. We did that. We didn't really see any improvement. So she was put on medication. And then she got several labs ran, and also got several testing, ultrasound, MRI, and they didn't find anything. And then the last thing they did was an endoscopy to go and see what is going on. And they didn't find anything. And then they said they think maybe it's IBS, but she's too young and they don't want to diagnose her. So let's just see how she would do on medications. So they started her on this 3 steps medications where she would take 3 medication at a time, and including a stool softener because she was getting constipation. So if those 3 medications didn't work, then she'll get like she'll go to the next level. And she was this was what was happening. She didn't like taking the medication, but it was what we had to do. So we tried to encourage her, and it got to the point where they wanted to put her on therapy to um, kind of let her understand why she's taking the medication, why she's on the medications, and that it's okay that she's on the medications, and however she's feeling or however the medication is letting her feel, they will kind of let her go through therapy through that. So, and at that time we were in Kansas, but from where we stayed to getting to where the therapy would be was almost 2 hours of a drive that we'll have to make. But like throughout all this, like I always didn't feel right about him. Like she's just 8 years old. And yet, they feel comfortable to put her on these medications. And some of the medication wasn't even for kids. We researched some of them and we realized some of them were not even for kids. But it was just adults, but they reduced the amount of dosage that she had to get. So, I always felt it wasn't right. And my husband and I just kept talking like, this is not right. It's not the way to go. And one doctor said, oh, maybe we should try the FODMAP diet. And so I researched what the FODMAP diet was, and it was just, we tried it. Still nothing was working. And then the medication wasn't working. It would be different if she took the medication and we saw an improvement or the pain went away, but nothing was working. So it was just taking medication to see what works, and nothing was working. And one time I was listening to Kim Berry, like I would watch some of his videos here and there. I wasn't like religiously watching his videos. But one time I don't know what he was talking about. I don't know what the video was about, but all I heard was that his wife Nisha had IBS and went on a carnivore diet and she felt better. And I hadn't really heard of the carnivore diet at that time. I hadn't heard of it yet. At that time, I myself was on keto, just trying to find something because I was also going through some things that I will mention later. So that's all I heard. I don't if you remember if you asked me what the video was about, I had no idea. But that's just what I heard, and I'm like, "Oh, carnivore diet." So then I started looking into it, and I'm like, "Okay, this doesn't seem too bad. It makes sense." I liked the science of things, and I understood the science behind it and how the body works. So it makes sense to me. But it was a little bit weird because we've been told you always need carbs, and so hearing this was just like, okay. But I said, you know what? Let me try it first before I let my 8-year-old try it because we didn't know how it's gonna be and how she will feel. At least I will have the experience of, how she will feel going into it. So then I tried it for a month and I was just like so blown away. All my health issues was so much like everything went away. But even some things went away that I didn't even realize. Like I had to think about it like, oh, I'm not experiencing this anymore. And I had to make a list of the things that some of the things that I went through. But the most important thing that for me, I was kind of trying to look into my health about this, that it was more noticeable to me was my knee pain. I had knee pain. I wasn't even 35 yet, and I thought it was odd because I'm like, I'm too old to have a knee pain right now. If I was 50 or something, I would have said, oh, I'm getting old. But just at the age of 34, I was getting knee pain, and I thought that was weird. So then I was kind of on keto, which kind of helped, but I had to watch how much carbs I eat because every time I overate on carbs, it comes back. So that was like my major reason for being on keto. But then I always had this sharp pain in my chest. It wasn't coming every day or every week. It will come maybe every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks. I'll just get one sharp pain and it will go away. And I've always had constipation ever since I can remember. I've always dealt with constipation. So that was just like, it's always there. And then I always had painful periods ever since I got my menstrual cycle since 11. So the two medications that is always on me was ibuprofen and Marilax. So for my painful period and then for constipation. And I kind of I didn't even know I had anxiety until going on the carnivore diet. Like, when you have an exam or when you have to speak in front of people, like I used to get really nervous and I just thought, it was just me being nervous. But when I went on the carnivore diet, I had to go and take an exam, which I'm always panicking and, nervous and I realized that I wasn't panicky. Like I wasn't anxious. I wasn't like after I went on the carnivore diet and I was like, okay, what's wrong with you? You're about to literally go and take an exam. You need to be more nervous. I was so calm and relaxed and I'm like, something is wrong with you. So so that was one and that's when I found out that I had anxiety, but I just thought that's how I was. And even speaking in front of people, I just stutter and get nervous. And I was like, oh, that's just what I am. Maybe I'm not a good public speaker. So that's when I found out I had that. My sleep got better. I didn't really have that much issues with sleep. But as a mom, I don't get that much sleep. And thank God if I get 6 or 7 hours of sleep. But even I realized that even with 4 to 5 hours of sleep, I still felt good. I'm not mean and grumpy like how I used to be before. I got more energy. The whole mental clarity, I didn't even, I heard people say mental clarity, but I didn't even know it was a real thing. But when I went on carnivore, I just really, it just happened for me. I was like, oh, wow. So this thing is actually real. And then something little like having my breath. My breath used to be kind of bad because I always remember when I was growing up, my mom would always say, "Oh, you need to chew gum. Did you brush your teeth?" And I'm like, "Yeah," but I, I had bad breath. But I realized that kind of went away, and I'm just like, "Oh, wow!" But this was just my knee pain was one of the things that kind of shocked me because I had had my fourth child at that time. And when I was going up the stairs, I literally had to step one by one, especially when I'm holding her. But one day I was coming down the stairs and I'm like, oh, wait, I haven't felt my knee pain in like a week or so. Like I hadn't even noticed. But I'm like, I haven't heard, felt it. And I'm like, what is going on? And I didn't even connect that, I was just doing a trial of the, carnivore diet. But I didn't make that connection. And then I started watching more videos and learning about it. And I'm like, oh, so that's what's happening to me. It's going away. And I didn't have to worry about, how much carbs. Like I'm so bad at tracking, my macros, and I'm not really into it. And I'm really busy. I'm a homeschool mom and I don't have time for that. But this was just such a relief for me. And I just really, I don't have to track anything. I eat until I'm full. I did, of course, at the beginning, there were some things I realized I wasn't eating enough protein or enough fat, just coming from a keto diet. So I was just eating. And so, but after I learned more about it and got over that, I'm fine. And I'm like, oh, you need to eat more protein. But it was just these little things that were happening to me. And then I think about 2 months into it, I was like, wait, I haven't had my chest pain. Like it just hit me one day, like, oh, I haven't felt it anymore. And I thought that was really odd because you're always told that meat gives you heart disease. And so I was just like, I thought it was weird, but I'm just like, oh wow, I'm not experiencing that anymore. What happened? What's going on? So then I really delved into it more and finding out about the science, listening to Anthony Shafee, Tony Hampton, um, um, Dr. Ovidia, like just really learning about what is going on. So after I saw how I felt, I went through the cravings. I think that's the only negative thing I had that was kind of, I would say, the worst thing at the beginning, just getting over that cravings. Because even on keto, I would still make, keto treats. I made it myself with nuts and seeds and allulose and all that stuff. But this was so easy and simple. And then I'm like, okay, I see the struggle, some of the struggles that you'll probably experience at the beginning, but after a week two, you get over it and you're fine. So then I let my daughter try it at that time, and the first week she tried it, there was no pain. Like she didn't even complain. And I'm like, oh, I kept asking her, how are you doing? How are you feeling? Do you, you know, how's your stomach pain? And she didn't complain. She went on her day. She went to school. At that time, I wasn't homeschooling at that time. So they'll be going to school in the morning. And I asked her, sometimes her stomach will hurt at school. And she'll go to the nurse's office. And when it gets bad, they'll call me. And sometimes I'll have to go and pick her up to come home early. But she didn't experience any of that anymore, and she just went about her life um and just doing that. So I was just like, this is so odd. So then I started to worry, we're not eating vegetables, you get vitamins from your vegetables. Is this is this okay? It's working, we're seeing improvement, but is it okay? Especially, I mean, for me, I'm grown, but especially for her, I wanted to make sure she's getting all the vitamins that she needs. And I've learned about the vitamins at the store, like all the ingredients in it. And I didn't at that time really research into, which I know there are some good vitamins now, but at that time I didn't. We're just buying like the kids Flintstone chewables vitamins for them. But after I found out the ingredients in them, then I stopped. So then I started to research more, and I believe it was Dr. Anthony Shafee that let me understand that all the vitamins that we need is in meat. And I'm like, oh, okay. Then it started to make sense to me. Then I did some research on my own, And I found out that, yeah, we can get all the vitamins except for, vitamin D and iodine, um, and some minerals if you need some, extra minerals and stuff. So I'm like, oh, okay. So if that's the case, then I guess we're okay. Then I started to feel comfortable, not giving any vegetables, to them. But she was able to eat some fruits, here and there. But you try to do like, carnivore treats. She may add a little honey or maple syrup, but it's not much. Because she's a kid and she she struggles with it. But she used to, I used to want her to eat a lot of vegetables because you need your vitamins. But she stopped all that, and she she actually don't love that much vegetables anyway. But um, all that is gone, and I don't stress out about um, her getting all her vitamins. I just have to make sure she eat enough protein and enough fat, and so that's how I got to carnivore.
That's fantastic. That uh, it's just amazing that the medical system
Hmm.
can look after a problem for so long and not solve anything about that problem, and all you have to do is change the way you eat.
Yeah.
It have you been back to her doctor? Like, I guess she's not taking any of those medications anymore?
Yeah, she's not. So, after I did that, after I let her try it, and I told the doctor we had to meet every 3 months to talk about the medication. So, I remember the last time we had to meet one more time, and then a month later because they were in the middle of switching the medication. And I asked them, is there going to be any point where we're going to try getting off these medications? And they said, well, we just have to keep trying to see what works for her. So after I tried the carnivore diet and she was feeling better, the last meeting that we had, I said, I changed what she's eating. I didn't say carnivore because if you say carnivores, you're doing a disservice to your child or something. But I just said, I changed what she's eating and I figure out what is making her stomach hurt. So is it okay that we try to discontinue the medications, at least just for a month and see if she experience any more pain? And I'll be comfortable. My husband and I will be comfortable going that avenue, like just letting her see just with the food. And initially one of the doctors didn't really agree, but then I said, what, I think it was what she was eating. But I wasn't very specific with, telling them all that she was eating. And then she's like, okay, the one of the therapists was like, okay, let's try for a month. And then after that, we can go back and then meet again and see if we'll have to restart the medication. So then that was it. Then she stopped in and we met that 1 month later. And I said, she's feeling much better. She's not experiencing the pain anymore. So thank you for your services. And that was it. And then we
That's
ended up,
fantastic.
yeah, yeah.
You
So,
know, the just kind of trying to put myself back, to being a, 8, 9, 10-year-old. I think the thing and, that's a long, long time ago.
yeah.
Um, you know, I think the thing that kinda strikes me most is that she must have been feeling like, "What's wrong with me? Why am I different to everyone else?" When she was still, at regular school. "Why am I so different to everyone else?" "Why am I having these pains?" And that kind of thing?
Mhm.
And to be able to, I mean, give her the gift of not having that problem is pretty amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Like she felt bad, like when she had to go to the nurse's office. Um, and it was kind of like, the nurse got to know her because she, she was there. so many times, and I felt bad for her. Um, she's she's pretty social. I mean, she's not too social, but she don't feel too I'll say she don't feel too sad for herself at times when she's going through stuff. But at that time, with the at the point where she kept having to go to the nurse's office all the time, you know, it brought a little, like, she wasn't herself. I should say, um, at those moments, because she loved being in school. She loved learning and participating with whatever she had to do. But when she had to take the break and go to the nurse because of this, it kind of changed her a little bit. Her perspective about her stomach pain, and why am I always having a stomach pain. So yeah, it did have a little bit of an effect on her.
So, at this stage, how long have you all been eating this way?
So I've been eating this way since August. It'll be 2 years. It was 2 years August of this year. Um, and her hers is almost like, she started September. I started in August, and then I let her start September. So it's almost like, well, a little bit over 2 years for her too. Um, and I mean, she does eat some fruits. There are some fruits that she can eat here and there. But we try to stick with like carnivore treats, and she'll add a little, you know, honey or stevia or maple syrup. So we try to do that for her treat so she can feel that. But if anything, she'll have a fruit here and there with it.
Right. So, I mean, and this is the great thing, especially for kids, is, you don't necessarily have to say to them, okay, well, you can't eat anything the same as your friends or anything like that. You just have to get back to a baseline, eliminate everything, and then go, okay, well, let's see the things that, we can include, like, for example, maple syrup or something like that, so that she doesn't feel left out. She can still have some sweet things.
Yes, yes, and for me too, I try to provide for her, like, oh, if she wants pizza, chicken nugget, we make it at home. We make her healthier version of it. We use chicken breast or cottage cheese, and we make a healthier version of it. So just allowing her to add a little maple syrup, just so she also feels like she's eating a donut. Like, we make carnivore donuts and add maple syrup. So at least she feels that she have that. And we'll make the drizzles with cream cheese and a little bit of strawberries, just to get it to be pink looking. So I try to just make her, and she learned how to make her own. She comes up with like some recipes all the time too. But I try to let her make, she wants a donut. Okay, let's see how we can make it healthy. If she wants, mac and cheese, let's find a healthy recipe, and we're able to do that. So I appreciate that about her too, that, she's open minded, and I don't say, oh, no, you can't have this. No, let's make a healthier version of it. And yeah, there are time to time where, we'll go and eat out. They'll have ice cream, or, maybe occasionally once in a while, if we go somewhere and she wants rice, or, she will have it. But she can feel the difference. Like, yeah, she's like, oh, I feel heavy. And like, so I kind of like the fact that when she's not eating the way she like, if we go, she they go to we go to church, and then sometimes we have to have treats and all that stuff. And she's good sometimes not having it, and she's good. But other times it's like, she sees it. When she doesn't see, she doesn't really request for it like that. But when she sees it and it's there, sometimes it's like, oh, can I have some of this? I'm like, well, you can. And then her stomach end up hurting, or she don't feel good later on. So I'm glad that she can actually monitor and see the difference in how she feels. Because then she's like, okay, I'm done. I'm just gonna keep eating the way I'm eating. So that, she's also learning that for herself because, I'm not going to be with her all the time. But if she learn how to make some recipes and learn how her body feels after this, I think it's very important that she can have that experience for herself and make that decision to keep eating healthy.
Yeah, that's a great thing about an elimination diet like carnivore is that even when it's a child doing it, they now are in a position where they can identify what's making them feel bad. Mhm. Yeah. So is it just you and your daughter that are eating this way, or is the whole family now converted over to this way of eating?
So it's pretty much the whole family. It's just my husband. He's more keto. Like he likes having the vegetables. So whatever vegetable he likes, we'll add. It's not perfect. Once in a while, he may have some potatoes or something. But what I do is I make the whatever meat we're having, I make that, and then whatever he wants to add, or you know, I add it to his, like, whatever vegetable he want, but we're all eating the same kind of meat. And my son, I have an 8-year-old son. He likes cucumbers, and so he add cucumbers to his meal, and he does good with some fruits also. So he'll have a fruit for dessert or something. But he also make his own little muffin. Sometimes we'll use almond flour or protein, the protein powder, and he'll make his own recipe. So he has his own dessert. So I'm the one that's more, I'll say, carnivore, and my daughters are kind of ketovore, and then my son and my husband are in between, like carnivore and keto, I'll say. So, but we make it work.
Yeah, but I guess the thing that, bears emphasizing is, you know, regardless what level you're at, whether you're keto, ketovore, carnivore, whatever, um, there's a distinct lack of ultra-processed food in your house, which is a good thing for everyone, right?
Yes, yeah, yes, yes. And it's so good. It's so funny you said that because I realized how much I was buying. Even when I was on keto, it's like you have to buy all these seeds and nuts, and eh, you know, and they're expensive. They're not cheap. And before we even like before keto, I was buying all the cookies, the snacks, the chips, for them. And my son, we eat, and and sometimes like 30 minutes later, an hour later, it's like he's hungry. And I'm like, you just ate. Like, you know? And like we were constantly feeding them with all these crackers. Even if you buy, and I will buy the healthy crackers, ones that, it's made with flour, but then it doesn't have too much chemicals. I was still buying it, and you have to be restocking them in your pantry because they're going through it. And now I don't have to spend money on that. They eat maybe twice or maybe between 2 or 3 times a day. They normally right now, since we moved to Guam, they've been homeschooled, and I'm so surprised how sharp they are. You don't have to, they know they have to do their work. I don't have to drag them out of bed to do their work. I don't have to like force them. Like they get up, they come and start their work right away, and then in a couple of hours they'll make a big breakfast. My son will make like a huge breakfast with eggs, and then he'll have like maybe some kiwi, and then he'll make some carnivore pancakes with it, like, and he makes like a, a bowl full of protein. Or sometimes we have some breakfast sausage. Either I make them or I find the healthy ones to buy, and he'll have a bunch of sausage with his eggs. And he likes kiwi a lot, so we get either kiwi for him or strawberries. And so he has that, and he eats that, and that holds him out throughout, like maybe until almost dinner time. He may have cheese or, a fruit in between, but he holds up until dinner time, and then he eats dinner, and that's it. So it's like they're not constantly eating. They get up and start their work before they even think about food. Like, but before they wake up and I'm hungry. So, I mean, I've seen the difference in their life, in the transition since going, eating a meat heavy diet versus what we used to eat before. And um, we came from Africa, and no, I was born in Ghana. I came here when I was younger, and our food is full of starch. Like our diet, the Ghanaian diet, we have the rice, the corn. So our food is very starchy, and so going from that to now like a high protein diet has been yeah, it was a little bit difficult for the family, but it's been quite a transition for us, and it's made such a huge difference in our lives. So
So, because you're homeschooling, you must notice a difference in their kind of like their focus and things like that, no?
yes, I do. Yeah, I mean, now they are more independent than when they were in school. In school you have their assignment, the teachers telling you what to do and stuff. But now they have that responsibility for themselves, and we let them decide. We give, they know the assignment that they have to do is all scheduled out for them, but we let them decide whether you work 1 hour, take a break, or you work 3 hours, take a break. Like they decide their own schedule as to how they're gonna go about doing their work and how their day will go. They do attend some homeschool classes. We are with the homeschool association, and on Fridays they take classes with other homeschool kids. And we test them every year to make sure. And they've always had good scores in their, even when they were in school, they were always above. But even now, they're still like above grade levels when we test them. And so I think the food is part of it because they are not being so distracted. They are not, and before they would feel tired and lazy, and you know how carbs make you feel. You just feel heavy, and your concentration is just not there. But now they're able to focus. They amaze me because sometimes they may have a field trip, or something may come up where they won't have to, they won't have time to do their work at that time. These kids would stay up and get their work done late. Like even if it's 7 o'clock, they will stay up. They are so determined to get their work done late. Because when they eat dinner, like if they're eating dinner 4:35, they're not getting tired or lazy. They still push through and they get their work done. And in those moments, which kind of amazes me because when I was their age, I wasn't doing that. Like, I even give them the option. Oh, you can finish it tomorrow. You can just stop. And they're like, no, we want to finish it. So I think just not having that tiredness, and after you're done eating, you just, when you eat a carb heavy meal, you just want to sit on the couch and just be lazy. But because they're eating this way, they're not lazy. They get things done. So that's one of the difference I see.
Yeah. Yeah, after a carb-heavy meal, you just wanna sit on the sofa and kinda eat more carbs. It's almost like it's designed that way. It's almost like the food scientists are trying to get us to continue eating. Um, so is there any after based on the experience you've had, if you met another parent who perhaps had a child that was suffering stomach issues like your daughter was, is there anything you would recommend them trying first? Like, would you just say go straight into carnivore with her, or would you say just kind of slowly eliminate things?
Yeah, I in my head I want to say just do the carnivore. It seemed like all my answers, a lot of my answers is just carnivore, carnivore. But we are human, and relating to people, when you say that, first of all, they're not going to be open minded. They think it's strange, and they don't, if they don't understand the science of it. So sometimes I try to explain to them, you know, plants have this, they want to protect themselves too. So they have chemicals that naturally they have to protect themselves because they can't run or fly. And so some of that chemicals, even when the food is cooked, it can still affect people. It's not that, plant is bad or bad for everybody, but it's just you may have to try taking that out of your diet and then seeing how you feel. And then I explain to them, and the carbs too, the carbs, because just because when I meet people eating a lot of starch, I tell them that's one thing you can do. I don't say stop it right away. I say, just lower it and see, just eat less carbs, increase your protein. There's so many research out there that protein don't cause kidney disease. It doesn't cause heart disease, and a lot of people are hesitant when you tell them, oh, red meat is good. They are more comfortable when you say, oh, eat fish, eat chicken, like they're comfortable with that. But as soon as you say, oh, eat red meat, they're like, it sounds strange to them. But I just try to tell them, try taking, increasing your protein, decrease the carbs, and then just start taking things out. And then you can make recipes that are healthier. So sometimes with my people I meet, I'll send them some recipes that I make. And I, just say, if your daughter wants pizza or your son wants pizza, make it this way. They can still enjoy it. And do that. I feel like going that route is more easier than just say do carnivore, because they just don't understand, and it takes a lot of explaining. And even after you explain it to them, because of the mainstream, you need carbs, you need fruits, you need this, you need all this. So they don't feel comfortable yet. And people that like have kind of tried it, or not tried carnivore, but have tried lowering their carbs, are people that I see that they're really suffering. They're suffering a lot. One lady that I introduced this to, she says she had tingling in her feet every time she eats. She was she didn't have the energy to even watch her kids, and we are around the same age, so her kids are also young, and so she had to get somebody to come and help her around the house. And I said, hey, just lower your carbs, just lower the amounts. If you can stop with the rice, if you want to eat some type of um I don't even know, like plantain or something, do that and stop the rice and see how you feel, and cut it back down, increase your protein. And she did that, and she said just in 1 week, just lowering, not even stopping, but just lowering the amount of carbs she was eating, she didn't feel the tingling in her feet anymore, and she was more active with her kids. So um it's hard for some people to kind of understand, but after you explain it to some of the people, if they're if they're in pain bad enough, so, a lot of them are willing to try it. So
And it's effective when you can give them a strategy like that, just reduce the rice or something, and they actually see the results, and then
yeah,
you don't need to be kinda convincing them because they're convincing themselves, right?
yeah, yeah. So it's amazing. It's amazing how the diet can affect people, but that's not the first thing we think about. And this, well, I'll say the sad thing is them trusting their healthcare providers, but it's not their fault. I mean, they're also doing what they're thought to do. But it's just when you're telling them, hey, try this because this is what is affecting you. And then they go and see their doctor, and their doctor is like, no, you can't do this because, your LDL, or, it's just your cholesterol. Eggs are not good with the yolk because it has cholesterol. Like, so when they're getting that information, of course, they're going to look at you like, oh, you're lying to me, or you don't, like, is this that view of points that it's hard for them to get on board. with it. So,
Yeah. I you just reminded me of something, like so many millions of people suffered through the 80s and 90s eating egg white omelets for no reason at all.
yep, my mom did that. My mom did that, and and every time, I mean, I always ate the whole eggs. She's like, "No, take the yolks out. It's not good. Take it out." And then every time we had chicken, "Oh, take the skin off." And my body always craved for the skin of the chicken. Like, "No, take it off. It's not good." So we'll literally be making chicken and taking off the skin. And it's like, "Oh, use," and sometimes when she's watching me, I just, throw one yolk away and then just have one, 2 eggs with less, just one less yolk. I'm like, "Ah, I need it." So, yeah. And even I met somebody recently, an older lady that she's like, "Oh, yeah, I don't eat the yolk." And I said, "You need the yolk. That's where all the good things in it." And she's like, "No, I don't eat the yolk." I'm like, "No, please eat the yolk." So I don't know, if she stopped or not, but I just tell people eat the yolk, eat the fat, eat the skin of the meat. So,
Yeah.
uh, yeah.
Um, so, Sandra, if people want to reach out to you, do you have any social media or any other way of getting in contact?
Yeah, I have a small YouTube channel, Sandra Sorry, on YouTube that I'm trying to get videos out there. I've been very busy lately, but I try to get videos out there, and some people have found it helpful. By Sandra Sorry is just my first and last name on YouTube, and I also put it on TikTok, and people reach out to me there, and then my email is the best way to get a hold of me. I have that also on my channel. But that's pretty much, and then Facebook too, with my name, Sandra Sorry. Um, so yeah, that's about it. That's how I can be reached.
Yeah, no worries. So I'll include links to those in the show notes.
Okay.
Um, Sandra, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story and experience. I really appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you so much, Dave. This was really fun, and keep on doing what you're doing. You don't know how many people you're helping. People may not say it or may not come and share their stories, but I know you're helping so many people more than you know. So God bless you and keep at it.